Yo, what is good, everybody? How's it going? It is a beautiful, beautiful five-star Fridays, and love is in the air because it's Valentine's Day. Hey, and you know what? I don't know. We must not have plans with our missuses or our wives, or I don't know what's happening. Ryan, on the other hand, he did have plans, so
Oh
he's
yeah,
not here. Fee, who knows what Fee's got going on? She'll be jumping in.
she
But
might have been swept off her feet, but before this morning and
that's
today, who
true. That's
knows?
true. Love is in the air. So
Things happen quick, man.
I am Tony Clapper, aka Mr. Five Star, the Clapback Kid, the Chat 'em Up champion. And usually I have a few more people with me, but I always got my crazy ass Uncle Fish with me. So
Always,
Uncle Fish, what's going on? How are you doing, sir?
man. I am glad to be here. I'm glad to be anywhere right now because I've been fighting off COVID for a couple of weeks, and it's been pretty brutal. But
Yeah.
so I apologize if my voice ain't all there. I apologize if my head ain't all there because I'm on a lot of flu meds right now. But I'm super excited to be here today. I miss Ryan. I'm hoping Fee makes it in. But my buddy T.S. Luther is here today. One of the coolest cats I met on TikTok. An awesome new comic creator, making waves. Tell him a
Hey.
little bit about yourself, T.S.
Hi, I'm TS and I write comics. And sometimes Fish pays me to do, odds and ends. Sometimes I paint his house. Sometimes I edit his comic books. Sometimes I write stuff for him. Some of the other stuff I can't talk about live, for legality reasons. But I'm TS. I write comics and I write a lot of them. So Hellion and Bash, Tokyo Fire, Growing Up, and all sorts of stuff across the Fishverse. At TS Luther on everything. Come give me money, time, comments, love. I'll take it all. Thanks for having me, dudes. I'm so excited. I'm trying to keep, calm, but I drank so much Coca-Cola before this.
Hey, no problem. We're glad to have you on here, man. I mean, any friend of Fish is a friend of mine.
Oh, that's the
So
nicest thing anyone's ever said. Usually they're like, "Oh, Fish," and then I hear the knuckles crack,
no,
and
nah,
That's when the door slams. That's
Me
when
and
the
Fish
flock
go
comes
way
in.
back. We go way back,
we
like
can't be
four
that
five.
way back. I mean, look at how much gray is in Fish's beard compared to your beard. We
We
can't
can
be
go
that
way
far.
back for him and only be a little bit back for
Right,
me.
right. In the
Yeah, yeah,
span
yeah.
of
Oh,
Fish,
I go all the
Right,
way back.
right. That's what's up. That's what's up. Hey, so since it is Valentine's Day, and usually we do a versus segment, but today we'll switch it up because love is in the air. Love is in the air. If we're going fictional couples, I want to know you guys' top three fictional couples. And you can go any genre. I don't even care what it is. You can go anywhere. I want to know your top three. And you can take a minute to think about it because there's a lot out there.
I got mine.
Man,
Mine are easy. You're all right
He's
if
ready.
I go
Okay, he's
first?
ready. Well, you know what? We'll let our guest go first.
Thank
yeah.
you, thank you. I'm gonna take over because I like to yap. But Green Arrow and Black Canary, number one. Oliver
Right.
Queen, Dinah Lance, my favorites across the board. It's a love story that spans genres, universes, and they're just both so hot, so you just can't beat it. And then
Yeah.
number two, Mary Jane and Spider Man. It doesn't matter if you make a deal with the devil or with the devils of Hell's Kitchen, they're gonna find a way to be together. I love them in any iteration. And then if you go really classic, Sue Storm, Reed Richards,
Okay.
because the only happy couple that has ever existed in comic books. Even when Namor tries to step in and get in the way, they still find a way to stay
The
together.
more, always the more.
He's always in there, man. Listen, I don't blame him. He's got like the V thing that Ryan Reynolds has going on, and because he
Yeah.
swims all the time, I get it. He does a lot of cardio, but Reed Richards is stretchy, so he's always going to win. But those are my top three.
Top three. Okay. Okay. I can dig that. That's pretty good top three. Pretty good top three. Fish.
All right. Well, there's going to be a little bit of overlap because I'm in the Spider Verse here, but Aunt May and Uncle Ben I think is a beautiful
Oh,
pairing,
that's
Ooh,
so good.
and
it's a good
Dang
one.
it.
she was so true to him, forever. Like that was a
Beautiful.
love that didn't get broken just because he
Mm-hmm.
passed away. Doesn't matter how many times he gets killed and how many iterations.
They
Like
always
that,
love each
that's
other.
that's true love. I love that one. Um, God, uh, second one I'm having trouble with, but my number one is absolutely Sue and Reed. Like
Mhm.
there've been some versions where Reed's a jerk and stuff in certain, which it's kind of hard to think of anybody because every couple I think of, I'm like, oh, they're beautiful. But then later on, like he's an alcoholic and beats her or something. Like
When
there's
you
Yeah.
have 70 years worth of history, someone's always bad. Like Hank Pym is a
Yeah.
nice guy sometimes. He also created Ultron. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah. So like that's a tough one. But Sue Storm and Reed are my number one. I don't know who I would put in the third slot though. That
Okay.
man,
Okay. I
I'm
can
still
dig it. I can
thinking.
dig it. What's up, Jay, man? What's up, Andrew? We're talking about fictional couples. If y'all want to comment and leave your favorite. You can do your top three. Or you can just do your favorite. It's up to you guys. But
We might
now,
be in some fictional couples here in a minute because we're streaming on Valentine's Day instead of hanging out with our ladies.
right? That's true.
Yeah, that hot chick I used to be married to, like I remember her, man. She was something. Man, it's a shame. Now we did our whole Valentine's thing yesterday, and she's at work right now. So I'm safe. I ain't in
I
trouble.
don't know who's single or not. This is just a joke, but all the single guys are watching our podcast tonight.
It's worth it. This honestly, you can learn a lot about getting ladies and losing ladies from this crew. Honestly, like
Oh,
we
yeah.
do great and then we ruin
Yeah.
it, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
I can tell you how to screw up a relationship, really.
All right, I'm gonna give you guys my top three right now. Here we go. Ready?
Let's go.
SpongeBob and Patrick. Okay.
Okay, you win. That was so good. Oh, how dare you?
Yeah. Yeah. I submit.
SpongeBob and Patrick. I'm gonna go off of this one just because of the power couple. I love Black Panther and Storm. together.
Oh, so good.
They
Short
don't
lived,
always
but
work
so
out.
good.
They always
See,
find a
I
way to
love that
mess
one
it up.
too, but short lived, like you said.
Yeah, short lived. They always mess it up. It always isn't. But just if they would just write a story where it did work.
I got mine. I forgot. I had it and then I forgot it and I got it again. Go ahead.
So like that, I wish they would write it to where it would work because they would be a dope power couple. And then I gotta go. I mean, you guys definitely threw some classics out there, but when I think of classics, I think of Superman and Lois.
Oh,
Lane.
Superman Lois, so good. But she's too good for him is the thing. I love Superman's one of my favorite superheroes, period.
Yeah.
But Lois Lane, like, she deserves better. Like, she's got a Pulitzer. Like, what's he doing? You know? Like, he's writing those little fluff pieces. Sure, he
Out
saves
there
the world
saving
sometimes.
the world, but you know. What kind of journalistic integrity does he
you got
really
Lois
have when
Lane
he's
at
writing
home, you
stories
don't
about
go.
himself?
Yeah, exactly. You don't fly into the sun when Lois Lane's at home. Okay.
True. So yeah, those were my three. I was thinking about it earlier, and I was like, Patrick. SpongeBob and Patrick just have a good time all the time.
It's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Like they did.
Have you seen that guy? I think he's got an Irish accent, and he tells like old timey stories, like it was like happening to him. He's like back in my day, and he told the most beautiful one possible about when they legalized gay marriage and how like now they can finally get married. And he was talking to Patrick because he was SpongeBob in this story, and he's like, "Well, you've always been my husband." And I'm like, I'm crying thinking about this again.
Yeah.
Like that was such a TikTok moment. I'm like, oh god, it's so beautiful.
I realized I had my other couple and I forgot it as I was trying to think of the other ones. Forge and Storm. I think they were an amazing couple, and I think they had such an amazing relationship that they never had to go back to it again. Like I think it was so deep and so powerful.
Why
she can go back and hit it with Wolverine or whatever whenever.
Cyclops, when they're in space, she hooks up with Cyclops.
Yeah, she can go off and have a booty call with anybody and come back. She can't do that with Forge. That's too deep. That went too far. You know, that's something they can't tiptoe back in again without getting lost in it. And I like that.
Okay.
Hawkman and Hawkgirl, that's a good one, J-Man. That's a beautiful one. The continuity screws it up all the time, though. When it's like, oh, it's timeless, but now we're aliens who don't live in time. It's like, listen, you're screwing this up. Just stick with one of them.
Is it timeless, or is he like a timeless stalker that won't leave her alone?
Yeah, and then I like how I'm glad that nobody mentioned as best couples. There wasn't a Cyclops Scott Summers in there at all, just because his shit's always messy, right?
Oh yeah.
So messy. And he's always like all of the Summers people are hooking up with everybody else.
Everybody
is a real open place, which is awesome for them. But then you can't go couples. You know, you got thruples, you got whole polyamorous communities that you can't, stand them as couples.
Right. Oh, Tommy and Kimberly, that was a good one. It lasted.
Tommy and Kimberly, solid
for part of a season.
But then
he goes on.
He dates Kat.
He ended up in like the comics and stuff marrying
Kat, the other Pink Ranger. Yeah.
Pink Ranger. So
and they have a kid together. So
he's got a type, that's for sure.
Yeah. If he wears a pink Ranger outfit, he's down.
Okay, whose type isn't that though? Okay,
Okay.
Han and Leia.
I feel like with the new movies, they really kind of just messed that up.
They broke that up real quick. They're like, "Oh yeah, we had this kid together. It left 30 years."
Yeah, like they made Han. He got too serious. He had a kid. He bounced. He was like, "Nah, I'm from the streets, from the stars, girl. I gotta go."
Go back to where I came from. I ain't to sit here.
Real sailor in the port type situation with Han and Leia. If you go to like the books, I guess like they were together, but they had like 30 kids. So how good of a relationship can they have? When you got 90 kids, you're not getting a lot of free time together.
Yeah, they did.
You obviously getting a certain amount of free time together if you got 30 kids.
Right, 30 seconds every 2 weeks, and or 9 months. Sorry, I don't know.
Don't just propagate like crops like that. That takes some investment of time there.
Right. There's been some messy relationships in comics, though. Like, if you had to think of like just ones that are messy, and then also that you're just tired of seeing because ultimately the writer is just going to make them break up again, or it's going to get messy. I'm going to go with indie comics and start off with Hotshot and Carlos. Like, that's messy.
Yeah, that's messy.
Same answer with honestly Mary Jane and Spider-Man. One of my favorite couples, but also just as messy because Marvel needs them to break up so Spider-Man can be young and single forever.
There needs to be drama and
stuff.
And
it just breaks my heart every single time. I just want them to be married and have
Gwen
kids.
Stacy and Peter Parker. Like, I hate every time that gets redone in a story now because where that's
a swinger. So.
Right. That's good. Did you see that they're bringing Gwen Stacy back as Nothing Sacred? I saw the cover. It's Gwen Stacy's the shovel and her gravestone. I didn't follow up on it. I'm not caught up right now in the current run, but I was like, oh no, really?
Man, Spawn and Wanda. Man, as soon as Spawn died, she
was out.
Well, there was like a 5-year gap there.
Yeah, that's true.
But
specifically, who she hooked up with is part of the problem.
I mean, it was a long time before she tried to marry Doc Ock.
And then J. Jonah Jameson's dad she was married to for a while.
Oh, yeah, the best. That's a good one. Eddie Brock and Venom.
That's good. They become one. That's beautiful.
That's a soul connection right there.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The Batman and Wonder Woman one kind of. I don't know. They play with that, but like
it was doomed. It was only really good in the animated series. I think was the only time I ever bought it.
Yeah, the animated series they kind of messed with. They played with it a little bit, but like
I don't think it's physically possible. I don't think.
Hold on. Steve Trevor can do it, but Batman can't.
I don't think he can either. I mean, I think Superman could.
Sure,
but I think like if you've got skin that bullets can bounce off of, I don't see any mortal man.
That's why Bruce Wayne built the mech. That was the first reason why he built the Batman Beyond suit and the Bat mech. That was the original intention.
They said with enough prep time.
Let me suit up, baby.
With enough prep time, he's making that happen. Okay. Enough prep time. He said that he's going. That's cool. He can make that happen.
What show have I been brought onto? What is this? I can't believe.
I'm still not buying it, man. Even if you did a good job, you're not coming out of that the same. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Death by Snoo. We've all seen it. That was.
It's a hell of a way to go, but
it's tough, man. I
don't buy it.
Eric Draven.
I liked the one time that they were gonna let Batman and like Catwoman get married. And did they actually get married? I can't remember.
No, but I think they're together again. I'm a little bit behind, but like honestly, it sucked that they broke that up because they broke him up like obviously right before the wedding happens, but it was the first time they ever gave a good reason. Like it sucked that they had built it all up, but the whole reason why she left was like, listen, if I marry you, you're gonna be happy, and Batman can't be happy. He then doesn't solve as many problems if Batman is happy because he's complacent. I was like, you know what? That's a good reason to pull the rug out from under me. I'm still mad about this, but if you were gonna break him up, that's a cool thing. But I think they're still on again, off again in the comics right now. More booty call than anything, but he is the knight.
He is, yeah. Okay, well, I mean, I don't know. You're kind of right. I mean, it's hard for somebody like Batman to actually be in that kind of like a serious, real deal relationship. Like,
when would he sleep?
He's married to Gotham,
right?
Like, let's be honest. His relationship, the most loyal thing he is to Gotham City. So it ain't much room for nobody else in that. Barry Allen and Iris West, that's a good one.
Clarifying comics over TV show. That's fair.
You got to.
In the TV show, they were siblings, so that was always a little strange. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
Adopted. If it's good enough for Pornhub, it's good enough for the CW.
What are you doing, Super Speed Step Bro? Like, it's not. I can't. No.
She was kind of manipulative on that show too. Like,
definitely.
Anytime she didn't get her way,
they made that the Irish. That's the Irish show, bro. They messed that show up with giving her just. I mean, it's cool to have like strong female like, but the way that they were trying to do her and like have her like Team Flash. We're all the Flash. No, you're not.
It's what happens when you have 30 episodes, when you have like primetime television and you're trying to tell comic book sci-fi. You run out of stuff to do. You got to fill so much airtime.
Space to fill.
Yeah, it's rough. All of those Arrow shows had crazy ups and downs. But I remember when I was finally done with The Flash was the lightsaber episode. When I tuned in and they don't explain, I was like, oh, did I miss something? No, they just have lightsabers now. And they did a full-on lightsaber fight. And that writer's room was like, fuck it. Why not? Like, who's going to stop us? Who's going to, like, listen, we're going to get
what haven't we done yet? You know what we haven't done? We haven't done lightsabers.
They literally were like, they had a board of it, like a board with balloons, and they were just like, lightsabers. I got an interesting question for you guys, though. If you could take one DC character and ship them with one Marvel character, who would they be? Who would it be?
I have answers that I probably shouldn't talk about because it's going to give way too much away about me. Because it's more like dream scenario than what I think would be a good couple. So I have to be careful.
Okay, be careful. We don't want you to get canceled or anything.
I definitely won't be canceled. But but if I was being honest with myself, it's like, well, Black Cat and Catwoman. But that's for different reasons, Like that's not that's not exactly what we need here. That's a big question, though. I don't know off the top of my head. I've never thought about that. I'm not a big shipper.
See, and there's such different worlds. Like everybody in the DC world is basically a god.
It is a dangerous question, but
and then everybody at Marvel is basically
Oh man, it is Valentine's Day. You're totally fair there. Tim Drake needs like fair play. He always got a raw deal in the DC universe, and Dick Grayson a little bit too. Dick Grayson still gets around, but he never found his true love because stuff always got in the way. So it's those two. I would love to find somebody on the other side specifically. I love so many other couples from DC. The thing is like you have some of the best couples. Like I think like the Dibneys, like they don't need to find somebody else. Like they had it there. And so much of the Marvel universe is so messed up by comparison. DC, the gods and monsters stuff versus, the world outside our window. Not a lot of it computes. And I wouldn't wish either one on the other world. Like, oh, if Tim Drake hooks up with somebody from the other side, it's like, who's he going to hook up with? Human Torch? That's not going to go well for him. He's not made for that universe. So I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
That's I just thought of it while we were talking.
Also, I just feel like there's going to be some symbiote, STD type thing that's going to cross over, and it's not going to go well for anybody involved. Venom always finds a way to screw it up. Deadpool and Death already transcends time and space.
Yep.
Oh, Deadpool and Harley Quinn. There you go.
That's man. That would be an annoying couple.
Oh my god.
That would be the couple that everybody's like, "Oh my god, they're coming."
That would be the couple that ends comics right there. They would bring it all to a big steaming heaping pile of
It'd be like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god."
I'd love to watch it all burn though. Like it would be such an entertaining. It'd be one good read, and they'd have to agree to never cross paths again. It's one of those couples that get a divorce, but they're still friends. You know, like they co-parent well. You know, they just couldn't live together. It got too crazy.
Oh, it's one of those ones that still hook up all the time and
Right,
get cops
right.
called and stuff, and you know, trying to drop the kid off at Hardee's and then you get arrested for fighting in the restroom after making
that
out
would be the most
on
toxic.
the changing table. Yeah.
Oh, bro. That would be that. They would never stop talking between the two of them. Like it would be literally trying to get a word in all the time. Like it would be too much.
I love that.
One comeback after another. Yeah, that would be so annoying. So that's my favorite because they would just be, oh my God, that would be so irritating.
Yeah. Well, enough of the lovey-dovey. That was my little Valentine's Day portion.
That's as romantic as the man gets.
That's as romantic as we're gonna get right here because, like you said, that was a dangerous question. It could have got real crazy real quick. Okay.
I felt like I couldn't really be honest. People don't need to hear that. You don't need to get that far into my mind.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I feel it. Between last week and this week, there really wasn't a whole lot of news that dropped. But the trailer did drop yesterday that I was pretty excited about. So I'm going to share it here with you guys. And I don't know if you guys seen the Accountant 2 trailer yet?
Yeah.
No? Fish, yes? No? One no? One yes? Okay. Let's watch that here. Let me share my screen. Have you seen the Accountant 1, Fish?
I know what it is. I didn't see it.
That's all right. Let's take a look. I want to know what y'all think, and the people watching, what do y'all think?
What's the difference between dressy casual and business casual?
Both mean leave your cargo shorts and flip-flops at home.
I don't own cargo shorts. I don't own flip-flops. Anything else?
Don't wear your black suit. It makes you look like a mortician.
Lord, my path has gone astray. I'm just trying to find my way. Now that you have gone away,
Why'd you ask if he was having money problems?
I'm just trying to find my way.
Does that make you nervous?
You're an escaped convict, trained by mob accountants. Your clients are drug cartels, money launderers.
Is that a yes?
Ray King has been murdered. Do you like puzzles, Mr. Wolf?
I need your help to finish the job he started. What are you doing?
Waiting for you to finish.
So you can.
Do what I need to do.
You were never meant to see.
What do you want?
Hello, it's me, your brother.
You can't tell from the tone of my voice that I know it's you.
Can you be in Los Angeles, California in 24 hours?
Goodbye.
Braxton?
All those things inside of me.
Was your brother up to speed on the case?
A Fed, huh?
I need to know who Ray King was meeting with.
Let me do the talking.
I'm just trying to find my way.
I guess I hit him harder than I thought.
I work for a government agency. I don't torture people.
You didn't.
Why would Ray meet with someone who killed all these people?
No, she didn't kill all those people.
How do you know that? No.
You often confess to capital murder?
I actually didn't say anything.
I have been to every place.
This is it, huh? Living on a lunchbox.
It's quite comfortable.
I have been to every
I spent years looking for you. Do you not miss me because of me, or is it your condition?
I'm just me.
I have made a great mistake.
We go over the plan again?
Plan?
You
get these ideas in your head. Good for you. Let's get ourselves killed.
I can feel them
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find my way.
Okay. First thoughts. See the trailer. We'll start with our guest first. Go.
I'm super excited for it. I really like the first one. Not a movie I thought would get a sequel, especially because, I mean, it is a little bit like generic
It's
is the
been a
wrong
minute.
word, but yeah, it's been a minute, and it's just such a straightforward action movie. It's like, okay, you have this, accountant, this assassin who, I think the main gimmick when you were trying to pitch the story before is like, well, he's autistic. It's like, okay, how interesting is that going to be? And then you watch it, and I was so surprised. I'm like, this is actually a solid film. I did not expect to like it that much, but not one I thought would get a sequel this long afterwards. And then bringing in John Bernthal, love John Bernthal, love to see him on something else like this. Fits that character so well. I'm excited just to see another Ben Affleck led action movie. That's always been a thing for me. So I'm excited. I don't watch movies like that in the theaters these days. So because all of the comic book movies are going to be, it's definitely going to be a rent for me though.
Okay.
I would definitely pay to go see it. I really wanted to see the first one, but things didn't work out at the time. And I've been actually thinking about that movie a lot lately, wanting to go back and watch it. Just because there's not a lot of, autistic representation in the kick-ass community,
Yeah,
So
no,
like
definitely not the
excited.
assassin community. Like,
Yeah. And it really tickles a certain part of my brain because growing up for a long time, I was kind of a little afraid I was a psychopath because I just didn't care about like how other people felt and stuff. Turns out I was autistic. But, that wasn't something that they offered as a possibility on the daytime psychology shows and stuff.
Right.
It was
Right.
more likely that I was a psychopath from what they were saying. And so it had me a little scared for a little while, but turns out I'm not. But, they do kind of work well together. I mean, when you don't really care, it's easier to go pop. So,
And he does a really good job in the first one, at least. I haven't seen the second one, obviously, but with all of the way that you can hyper focus and solve puzzles in a way that other people don't, that's like a big part of his character. And I really enjoyed that part. Obviously, we have a lot of things in common, but I really enjoyed Ben Affleck's portrayal, and I didn't think it was as one note. Sometimes, like I think of like The Good Doctor. It's like, oh, he has autism and he's a doctor. How could he do it? And that's not really the character. Even that's how they try to sell it with Ben Affleck. It really isn't what a first accountant is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, when I see the trailer, I was like, yeah, let's go.
Right.
And I couldn't help but also feel like Bruce Wayne and the Punisher.
There is a little bit of that too, is why I'm excited.
Bruce Wayne and Frank Castle teaming up. That first part when he's in the suit, I'm like, this is.
There's a story.
Wayne.
If those two brothers with that fortune decided to go in such different directions, there's a story for you right there.
Yeah, he's in that first part. He's wearing that suit. I'm like, man, that's Bruce Wayne.
And he was so good as Bruce Wayne in those movies. I don't necessarily love a lot of the Snyderverse, but you cannot pretend like he wasn't one of the best Bruce Waynes. I think him and George Clooney specifically are my two favorite Bruce Waynes of all of the Batman.
Yeah.
He was a great Bruce Wayne, and I think he made a great Batman.
I mean, good, like physically imposing, like
which is hard. Like you can do one real well and not do the other very well.
Yeah.
And I really liked him in both of those roles, and I hate that he didn't get a better opportunity with better movies.
And that's part of the fun when you watch The Accountant. It's a little bit of like, this is like a piece of what would have been Ben Affleck's Batman, which I'm sure would have been awesome. Great director, great writer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, we're getting Frank back in the Daredevil into the Punisher role.
So excited for that, man.
I mean, dude nails it out the park. He is the Punisher. Like it's like certain people were like born to play roles. Like the way he does Punisher, he kills it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm excited for that movie. It looks like a good, like you said, just like a good straight to it action flick. people getting killed, I'm here for it.
And it's not a Bruckheimer joint. It's not like Michael Bay. There's not going to be a million explosions.
Right,
which sometimes
right.
gets a little bit tired. I love it. I just watched The Rock with Nick Cage because my wife had never seen it. And I love that sometimes, but sometimes I want a little bit more thriller, but not so thrillery that I have to think the whole time. And the accountant really lands that perfect, like, in between of like, this is good, it's smarter, but not so smart that I have to focus.
Right. It's like the John Wicks. It's like 1, good, 2, good, 3. Like the more they came out. Like, I'm not saying they're not bad action movies, but like that 4th one, when it's just too much, it's like, bro, come on, bro. I'm watching, like, when you're waiting for the action scenes to end because like, too much. Like, how many bullets is this dude? Like, how many people is he gonna shoot to say, ding ding ding, and then like at the end of the one where he like makes it up the steps and gets kicked back down and has to re-beat people up to get back up the steps. You're just like, come on, bro.
What do you expect? Like, the entire like franchise was based on all these stuntmen who are like, well, we have some of the best scenes we've ever come up with that we haven't put in movies yet. What can we do with that? And they string them all together. The coolest action movie ever. That's what it's gonna be, right? Like, it's just. But eventually, you get that whiplash. You just get a little bit burned out of it. That's where I was. I saw John Wick 2 the same night I saw John Wick 1, and that was a mistake. I was like, this is too much. This is too much John Wick.
You can't binge those.
Oh no.
Those.
I did the same thing recently, just because I hadn't seen it in forever.
Right.
And halfway through 2, I was exhausted.
You're just like, okay, all right.
My wife looked over me. I remember we were watching. She goes, "When did Common come into play? Like, when was Common in this movie as he's fighting Common off?" And I'm like, I don't remember when Common showed up, but I'm sure he's gonna kill him here in a minute.
Yeah. They're fun movies to watch. You definitely cannot binge those movies together because it is too much. And then the later you get onto the series, it's like, okay.
I haven't seen The Ballerina yet either. That's the newest one in that universe, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But to me, it's like Fast and Furious. Like, after the first couple, it's just silly. Like, I mean, driving cars out of buildings and jumping out from outer space. And
driving cars out of buildings into other buildings into another one. There was 3
just ridiculous.
I got carried away with those for sure. For sure. But let's let's take the time. Let's talk about the man that we have here, our guest, what he's been working on, what he's got cooking up. Fish, you got a video that you want to play?
Yeah, we have got the trailer for Hellion and Bash #2, which is about to go live on Kickstarter. We will be back after this awesome video.
Let's talk about Hellion and Bash. Under the cover of a kaiju attack, the world's greatest and luckiest cat burglar, Bash, accidentally uncovers the secret identity of the superhero detective known as the Gargoyle. As our lovable rogue follows the discovery down the rabbit hole, more sinister secrets are unearthed, and our titular thief is joined by the world's greatest sidekick, Hellion, and the pair find themselves on the run from both superheroes and villains alike. Written by T.S. Luther, drawn by Marcus Pedro, lettered by Fishley and Mike Stock, and published by Professional Entropy, Hellion and Bash is an ongoing series that asks and answers the question, who protects a sidekick from a superhero? With your help, we can continue the series that was launched and fully funded in under an hour. Click the button and get notified when the campaign goes.
First of all, that trailer, dope work, friend.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. Did you one take that? Was that just one take?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm a yapper, man.
Yeah, nice. That makes it better when people like you can tell. I feel like you know what I mean, and I could tell it was a one take.
Yeah, I couldn't cut it together if I wanted to. I did a few takes and they did not cut together at all. So I'm like, this is what it is.
So why don't you take some time to tell us a little bit about the book and tell us, what we the people should be looking forward to.
For sure. So Hellion and Bash basically is my pitch on who protects a sidekick from their superhero. You have these characters like Batman or Green Arrow, and they have a sidekick. And if you approach that from just a slightly more realistic bent, I'm a dad, and I look at it and I go, okay, you're putting that kid in danger. Who's going to protect that kid? Because if Batman is putting his ward, his sidekick in danger, who stands up to Batman? Because I don't want to fight Batman. And so who's going to protect this kid? And then even if you did stand up to Batman, say you took him down, he's abusing this kid, we need to get him off the playing field. Now who protects the planet? Who fights off Darkseid if Batman's gone, right?
Yeah.
So you have these two questions in the superhero community that really leads to this kid not having the protection that he deserves, not having someone stand up for him. And that's where the super thief bash comes in. That's where the super villain community comes in. When the heroes don't step up, the villains do. And that's the whole pitch of the book is what if Batman was abusing Robin and nobody stepped up because they were afraid of Batman, so Catwoman has to, and they go on the run from the entire superhero community. And it's been a real like love letter to the books that I love, things like Invincible and The Victories, slightly more adult superhero stories that aren't just always gratuitous. It's not just, oh, we can cut people's heads off and show more blood. It's more about being able to tell those slightly more realistic stories with superheroes. I'm giving people their vegetables, but in their ice cream. And that's what I love about it.
We're just wrapping the vegetables up in tights so you can enjoy it.
Right,
exactly.
Right.
I mean, I could write a story about like who protects kids who are in the system, and people aren't paying attention to them. Who's going to protect that kid? People don't pay attention to that. People pay attention to superheroes. So that's the angle there.
Okay. So this is issue 2, correct? Issue 1 was completely, you said, was funded.
Yeah, funded in under an hour. Went really well, and it did so well, and I had enough backing with it that a friend of mine was starting a publishing company, and they were looking for their flagship title, and they bought up Hellion and Bash right before issue 1 went to print, and they helped me get issue 2 underway and going right away, and we're doing a full run of it. We're doing at least 5 issues right now. If those sell well, who knows? I might be able to keep going.
Nice. Okay. So what made you come up with this idea? Like, what do you think was like the trigger for this story? Is this something you was taking a long drive and it hit you? Because me and Fish can tell you about them long drives. you get them car rides, and it's like the story just starts flowing. So.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of different things. The first big 2 were obviously I mentioned Invincible. I love that comic book, one of my favorites of all time. It showed me that you could do other things with superheroes that weren't Marvel and DC. And then The Victories from Michael Avon Oeming, one of my favorite comics of all time. It's not as well known as I wish it was. It's from Dark Horse, and it told some really, really heavy stories about tough things that these superheroes were dealing with that I knew people in real life were dealing with that you didn't see in superhero stories. And that was the impotence. It was like, oh, this is what comic books can be. This is what a superhero story can be. I want to do that. And I had superheroes that I had made up when I was a little kid that fit into the universe. And I had superheroes that I wanted to create myself, and it all tied together. And I was working a really terrible desk job. I was answering phones for a car company. I was at like a Brazilian automotive desk. So like a lot of Portuguese around me. I don't speak Portuguese. And I'm working at this help desk, and I'm doing my best. And all I could do was to escape was write comic books. And this was the one that I wrote. And I had a lot of stuff in my childhood and friends' childhoods of people who were neglected, kids that were neglected because it was too close to the system, too much work to stand up for these kids. So if I was going to tell a story, I'm not at Marvel or DC. I don't have any of that cachet. So I'm like, well, let me give them something that they're not going to get there. I can't do Spider-Man. I can't do Batman, but I can tell a story that you're not going to get in Spider-Man or Batman. So that was the main idea behind Hellion and Bash.
I like that.
And that's the thing is, like, Marvel got to be Marvel because Stan Lee was willing to do superhero stories where they struggled with things that people struggle with in real life that nobody had ever seen in comic book form before, entertainment really before. Like, you've never seen your hero struggling to be able to pay the rent. He always had to have it all together. And it changed the game when he did that. But there was a whole lot of stuff that they couldn't talk about back then. Like, they nearly got put under for doing that issue about drugs with Spider-Man.
Exactly.
Like, it was such a huge deal. And, or like, when Green Arrow's sidekick is on heroin.
On heroin, right. I think about that issue all the time.
Yeah.
I'm glad they tried to address the subject. They didn't do it. It was kind of ham-fisted, but they tried. and especially for the time, it was a big step forward. But now, like, now we realize there's a lot more going on in the world, and there's a lot more that needs to be
Yeah.
addressed. And we need to be able to stand up and tell these stories. And I think this is opening up a really cool can of worms and really opening up a conversation in a new way.
Yeah.
And about stuff that I'm a huge fan. This is what
Yeah.
made me a fan of TS. This is one of the
Thanks, man.
scripts he sent me when we met on TikTok,
Yeah.
and he was just another dude that hit me up. Was like, "Hey, you want to read my script?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll read your script.
Yeah.
I would love to." And I read it, and it was legit one of the best things I read. And I was really honestly jealous that he was already in production on this book and I wasn't going to get to illustrate it. Still just a little bit mad about that. But it's really good. I'm a huge fan of it. I'm a huge supporter.
Yeah.
Have been since before it got finished. So
Thank you, man.
Yeah. No, I like how with the comic book world and the superhero world, writers are finding like the new, like every now and then you get a writer who can find that new thing within that new story to tell, right? Like we have a lot of like cookie cutter stuff. We have a lot of like stuff that's redone, but like being able to find those subjects that haven't quite been hit yet is super dope. And I like how you said there's a fine line between like it's dark, but not like the way that they're trying to do with like Peacemaker and those kind of things, like those TV shows.
it's not like The Boys.
How
but
raunchy, how grimy, how just like because
how
that's
nasty can we make it?
That's way over the top, and it's like it's still kind of like it's so unrealistic. It's just as bad as like the cookie cutter good stuff. You're just going way extreme on the other side, but it's the shit that you sprinkle in the middle that's like real life. Yes, it's grounded. Yes, it's got some dark stuff to it. This is real life issues that are taking place, but it don't have to be so over the top graphic and over the top just nasty. You know what I'm saying? Like I like The Boys. Don't be wrong, I like the show, but like we all know, like a lot of it's like okay, like they just are like in a room, like how much like really fucked up stuff.
Right. Like there's a lot of shock value that they put into it. And that I think Invincible is still a little bit closer to that when it comes to like the violence that goes on. But I think so much of it is like, hey, we can tell a story about the things that these guys would deal with if they were superheroes, but we weren't tied to the comic book code, right?
Yeah.
And I have always appreciated about that. It's one of my favorite comic books of all time. But I didn't just want to tell the story of what if Batman was evil? What if Superman was a bad guy? That's been done before and done better than I could do it. And honest to God, what would happen is if I was writing this and I did work for DC is I wouldn't write this story because I love Batman and Robin. I love that story, and it takes a little bit of a suspension of disbelief of that to make sure that story gets to continue, right? I don't want to tell this story with Batman and Robin because I love that. That's my childhood, and I love those stories. But this is a way for me to address that question that everyone has, right? Like we saw the comic. Can someone please tell Batman to stop adopting kids to make them sidekicks? Because it doesn't end well for him, right? And so you can joke and say, oh, what if, Batman was bad? So it's like, well, let's talk about that. Let's actually address that question in a serious way and take it out to its logical conclusion, which is who stands up to Batman? That doesn't happen. And so that's why it's fun to tell these stories and important to tell these stories. And like I said, I don't have it in me to tell the boys' story. Those dudes think of that stuff way better than I ever could. I'm talking about the show. I'm not a gigantic fan of the comic, but so like I don't need to go to those places. I can do something different here to maybe strike a balance.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Oh yeah, I agree 100%.
No, that's a cool take on it. With the characters, you said you came up with a kid. How what would you say made you like? What was that defining moment where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna write comic books. Like this is what I want to do. Like, well, I remember. I mean, we all have that. We all had that moment where we're like, we love it, and then we're like, you know what, I'm gonna do this.
I mean, if I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of comic books that inspire me. Like I mentioned Invincible and the Victories, and I love them so much. And there's so many different stories that inspired me. But I would say there's a lot of them, and I won't name names because it's still amazing that they did this, but there's a lot of books that were doing well or that people would praise that I wasn't a fan of. And I always had that idea. I'm like, well, maybe I could do better than this. I think I have a better story to tell. I think I'm good enough at telling stories. I'd always been a writer, but I had never executed it in comic books.
Right.
So I was like, well, let me put my money where my mouth is. Let me start making comic books. And I was working those dead-end jobs. And even when I got past the dead-end jobs, I was just working jobs I didn't like. I was in corporate America for over a decade. And I was a technical writer, which is a very, very boring job. I'm writing like how long it takes for brake parts to get to certain places, and like how much strength they have and how you press the brake. If you went to Amazon and you looked up certain brake pads and batteries, I wrote that. That's not a fun job, and it's not a job that I was passionate about. I don't care about cars. I should know more about cars, writing about them for a decade, and I'm still terrible. I don't understand them, so bad with it. Like, it was never a job for me. And so sitting there doing all of that, I put my money where my mouth was, and I was like, well, how do I even do this? I learned how to write a script, didn't know any artists. I had hired a few from like Fiverr, and I finally made a book. It was called Growing Up. It was this little anthology, and it was awesome. And it showed me the dream was possible. I could do this. I could write a script. I could find an artist. I could have it made. No one read it, and no one gave a crap that I did it, but I proved to myself that I could do it. And from there, I was hooked, and I was like, I need to do this more. And I made like 20 pitch packets, hired the best artists I could find, found some really talented ones, found some Marvel artists that were willing to take a chance on me, and nobody bought a single one. They didn't know who I was. They didn't give a crap. That was never going to happen. And I learned my lesson. I was like, okay, that's not how you do it. You have to actually make a comic book and put it out yourself and show people that you're willing to do it to build that resume. And my wife was graduating dental hygienist school. She was about to get her degree and enter the workforce. She hadn't been there. And she was like, listen, let's trade. You put me through medical school, but it's not medical school, through dental school. And let me do this for you. So quit your job and go make comic books. And that was the big impetus. I had always wanted to. I had kind of dabbled in it. But she said, quit, go make them. And I made Tokyo Fire. And I haven't looked back since. And people like Fish pay me money to write them sometimes. And it's the coolest thing ever. It's the scariest thing ever, because when you decide that you have a dream and you really want it, that means failure matters. And that was never a thing. I didn't care if I failed at writing about car parts. I mean, people would get hurt. So I did care a little bit. But I didn't care about car parts, so it didn't matter to me. But writing comic books, I care so much. And I love it more than doing anything else. And I won't look back, but it also means that I have to try really hard.
Right. Okay. That's what's up, man. So how many titles do you have currently under your belt?
Right now out, like Hellion and Bash is going to be the third book that I have produced myself, but I've written things in Fish Tales for Fish, as well as, helped write stuff with Alice and Green Zone, stuff like that, and do a lot of editing. Green Zone's mostly Fish's thing. I don't get to touch that one because it's really good, and he's like, no, you'll ruin it. But I get to write stuff in Kaw sometimes. And then I've written titles for Lucky 33 Comics and a few other indies. But from my own label, I did Tokyo Fire and Hellion and Bash #1 and Growing Up. But those got picked up by Professional Entropy, a brand new publisher, and they're putting out Tokyo Fire, and we're going to finish that series that has 7 issues. Hellion and Bash is their ongoing title. And then I sold a script in a series to Invader Comics called The Digger that's coming out later on this year in September. And that's a 4-issue miniseries with my buddy Sam Gudelin, who helped me co-create it. And that's going to be my first other publisher. They were going to be the first publisher, and then they helped me get the gig with Professional Entropy. So I'm starting to pop up other places.
Okay.
Still no Marvel or DC or anything like that yet, but maybe one day. When Fish starts giving me more screen time, maybe I'll be able to show them that I can do it.
I don't doubt that he's going to get there at all. Like, dude's talented, and dude puts in the work, which is one thing. Like, we all know a lot of people in the indie comics community that are like, oh, man, I'm going to be bigger than Marvel. I'm going to have more toys. My movies are going to be bigger. I'm going to have this giant interconnected universe. And then, like, 10 years in, they've got, like, 4 first issues and no second issues. And this dude is a nose to the grindstone worker and is putting everything he's got into it, which is one of the things that also really impressed me with him. And that's why I hang out with him so much, because I'm like, you gotta stick with those people that are making it happen. And not get tied down with people that just want to talk a big game. Because
Thanks, man. That means a lot. And like, the thing is I do love doing it, but it is a job for me. So it's similar. That's one of the reasons why me and Fish work so well together. Is there's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, this is my dream. This is my hobby. I love doing it," and we totally love doing it. But it's also our 9 to 5. This is we get up and do more like our 6 to 6, and then we don't sleep, so it becomes our 6 to 12. But like we love doing it, but we put in the work. It is a career. I'm building my resume. Every job that I take is a move on the chessboard to get me to that next rung.
Yeah.
And I take it very seriously. And it's one of the reasons why I've done so well for myself so far. And it's the only thing that I would say I would give advice for, because I can't tell you how to break into comics because I haven't really broken in. But I will say what I've done so far is follow that Kirkman manifesto of put out your own indie book until you get noticed and start working with smaller publishers. And then maybe eventually you can get picked up by the big two. So that's the real goal at the moment. And then obviously then you go back to indie comics. But I like taking work with people who put the work in. That's why I love working with Fish, because he also puts his money where his mouth is and finishes books faster than anybody I've ever seen, which is rad. When I give totally, man. When I give him a script and then I get a full book back on Friday, like give it to him on Monday, get it back on Friday. That's a dude that I got to work with,
Yeah.
One of the few people I've never minded doing work trades with. I've done work trades with other people and it hasn't gone well for me. Trading anything with Fish, getting paid to work with him, any chance I get, love doing it. The dedication you guys have, your stories and art is inspirational. Thank you. It's stuff like that makes me do it. Like I'm going to sit there, even if you were talking to everybody else, I'm going to take that and pretend like it was for me. And that's going to get me through working tomorrow.
No, that was for you. The Kickstarter goes live Monday. Do we have like an estimated time of when you're hitting that launch button?
I'm going to try to fight the urge to put it at 12:01 a.m., which is probably a terrible time to launch it. I'll probably launch it in the morning, probably around 9:30. But Monday, 9:30 a.m. is probably when it's going to go live. I'm so excited to do it. This is the first issue, too, that I've ever actually got to put out. I've written tons of them. This is the first one that was produced.
Yeah.
So I'm real nervous. And if you've enjoyed anything that I've said here, if you like my beard, my hat, my face, anything, please go and support it, because I have to show that these publishers who took a chance on me and gave me money up front, which has never happened before, it was worth it for them. And so like, this is the big one. If ever you were going to jump on the T.S. Luther bandwagon, this is the time. I try not to look like I really need it, but I do.
It 100% has my seal of approval. Like this is one of the books that I can guarantee you're going to enjoy. You want to pick it up. Like even Brad Arney was saying he's looking forward to the next issue. And I mean, yeah, Brad Arney backs almost everything. But if he's looking forward to it,
dude.
That's saying something.
That's true.
It's like I back a whole lot of things. There's only a handful of things I'm waiting to see.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason I wasn't waiting on my copy of Hellion and Bash is because I lettered it, so I already saw it all.
You would have lettered issue too, but we have so many projects that I reached out to my buddy Mike Stock, who's also an awesome letterer. He did the lettering for Tokyo Fire and a few other indie stuff that I've done. And I was like, listen, Fish is apparently working on 90 books right now, and then he gets COVID because he goes and talks to people at the post office. So I need your help on this one. And he stepped up. It looks awesome. Yeah. And it's been really cool working with lots of people on it. But I wish I could always work with Fish, but I love working with other people too. And I have a really strong team on issue 2 with Marcus Pedro on the art.
Oh, man.
Shout out to Marcus.
Oh, his art
it's so good. And
if it ain't going to be me, I got to say, he killed it, man. It is.
I love it. He always messages me like thanking me for helping him get into like American comics, because he mostly was working on Brazilian comics. He was big on this app called Funktune, which is kind of like the Brazilian version of Webtoon. You got to read a little bit of Portuguese to get into it, but totally worth it. Some amazing books on there. But he always messages me thank you, like he's not slumming it with me when his artwork could be in Marvel and DC easily. But I appreciate him so much. And like I said, Fish killed it on the letters in the first issue. Mike's killing it on the letters in the second issue. Go follow all these people. They're going to be way bigger than me soon.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It is popping off Monday. In the morning on Monday. Get in there, follow this guy. Where can they find you at on your socials? At
At TS Luther on everything. So if you want to find me, I'm mostly on TikTok and Blue Sky, but at TS Luther, I have a website, can'tbekilledcreations.com. You can get updated there. But yeah, really go and check it out on Kickstarter. That's the big one. And I've had a lot of people message me going, hey, where's issue 1? Because I'm an idiot and I didn't follow Fish's lead and I didn't put Hellion and Bash issues 1 and 2. But you can get issue 1 there. I promise it's right there. You can get caught up on both.
There you go. There you have it. Fish, as we're wrapping up, you got anything that you want to say to the people?
Yeah, go check out Green Zone at gomrfish.com. We just crossed the 52% mark.
Yeah.
We got another backer tonight, it looks
Heck
like.
yeah.
Let's go.
So, yeah, we've got 16 days to go. I have not been able to pitch it as much as I wish I could. So if anybody wants to go give it a share, your Uncle Fishy will love you forever because it'll get it out in front of more eyes than my stuff does because anything I share gets like 2 likes. But anybody that'll give it a share, get the word out there. Tell people to go back it, check it out. I would appreciate it. If you enjoyed issues 1 through 3, issue 4 literally has had me in tears. It had me weeping as I was working on these pages. Like I tried to have TS talk me down the other day of adding more pages to the book, and this guy's like, "No, they're too good. Just leave them." And so,
and I'm normally the guy on his. I'm his editor, right? If you don't like Fish, if you like, Fish sucks, it's okay. I'm on the book too, so you should still go buy it. But normally I'm the guy going, Fish, you got to cut half this.
I like him because he's mean, and he'll be mean.
I'm like, this sucks. Cut it. And this time I was like, no, too good. Put more in. I was trying to talk him into a 28-page book, and he was like, I can't do that. So I had to find a way to get it down to 24 pages. But I tried. So like, take it from me. I normally cut all of his stuff to ribbons. This book is so good. You cannot miss it. It's the end of the arc. So if you've been waiting, if you've been holding off, catch up on 1 through 4 in the source book. It's so worth it. And again, if you're like, Fish is smelly, that's okay. TS is on the book, so you know it's good. I wouldn't put my name on it if it was bad.
There you have it. Hey, get in there, back Green Zone, share Green Zone. It's a book that needs to be out there because Fish is always cooking up some dope stuff. Monday, get ready to jump in with TS Luther. Back that campaign, get it funded. And as always, continue to be a 5-star version of yourself. Thanks for rocking with us. Have a safe weekend, and we'll catch y'all next Friday.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Peace.